And I want to call up Chad Martz at this time. He'll tell you what he and Mary have been doing. Chad and Mary serve with a group called Hungry for Life. It's a local ministry right here in Chilliwack that is in 70 countries, I read, probably more now, yeah. And Chad, what's your main job there with Hungry for Life? Like, you have a title, right?
Yeah, previously I was the director of the organization, so I got to oversee it, but moving to Ukraine, I've moved into more of an advisor role for the current director, while still running the projects that are happening during the war, so good. It's probably a pretty long title. Wow, we have such an incredible foundational support from this church and the individuals within it. But I do see a lot of new faces here in the crowd too, especially last week with all the new kids, and it's so great to see. But we've been members for Broadway for since 2005 or 2006, so it's been a little while. And as was mentioned before, my wife and Mary and I serve in ministry alongside Ruben and Abby and Charlotte, who also attend here. So just to kind of connect the dots a little bit. Our daughter is Tatiana, who you probably have seen while she was back here over the summer. She's our social butterfly, and she's helping us in ministry there, which we're very grateful for. So just to give a quick background, when COVID restrictions prohibited us from working in an office here in Canada, we decided to move to Ukraine temporarily. For 1 year. And it's amazing what certain decisions that we have in our life, how they change our course. But after 4 months, that decision put us right in the eye of the storm as Russia fully invaded the country of Ukraine. And like I mentioned, life is full of decisions. Some are larger than others. And when the full invasion broke out, the decision to stay and to respond actually didn't come in that moment. It came from a decision many years prior when choosing to put God first. We as Christians are to be servants of God's will, to God's will, and it was incredibly clear that after facilitating projects in Ukraine for 18 years and having the knowledge and network within the country, that when the full invasion broke out, we as servants of the Most High God was not to turn away and run, but to stand upon the rock of our salvation, to do the good that we knew we were to do. In war, you always need to adapt. That goes for military and for the humanitarian response. And early on, there was a fuel shortage in the country that we needed to overcome so we could continue supplying food within it. And after about a year, Russia started targeting the electrical stations, putting us in the dark for good portions of the day and night, which obviously caused us a lot of difficulties to overcome. We spent a lot of time on the road the first 3 years, about 68,000 kilometers. That's the equivalent of going from coast to coast 8.5 times in Canada. So we got a good understanding of what the needs were and the difficulties of the people within it. We were serving our different ministry partners across the country, supplying food, hygiene supplies, and basic items that Russia destroyed or stole, and of course a message of hope. It wasn't just simply going and delivering things and leaving. It was sitting and listening to the stories and the horrors that they've gone through. But that's also a small plug for the Christmas project, as we benefited from being able to purchase a transport van that helped us to do just that, and continues to help us deliver food into the conflict zones, and also to transport people around that come to us with groups. So we thank you for that. But it did not take long to recognize the immense need to help people, providing them a safe and restful environment for those who are serving others. So I grew up playing sports, which has also helped draw me to this church, because my first sermon, Pastor Gary was preaching, and of course used an example of sports. We had an instant connect. So I figured we'll just keep that tradition going, because that's what I know. So I grew up playing team sports, and from that I understood the value of a team. A team can accomplish way more than that of an individual, and that is how we view ourselves in Ukraine. We are one member of a team that has immense pressure on it, serving during a time of war. Whether that's looking after bedridden widows, families of fallen soldiers, moms who have had their husbands in the war, internally displaced people, we began hosting groups to accomplish that. Mary, who's actually here with me today and surprised me 2 days ago by showing up. A good portion of this last year, she spent a huge amount of effort in designing, managing, and constructing a permanent retreat home that came along with a lot of challenges. That could take a long time to explain, but we'll leave that for now. But we continue to provide food supplies in and around the country, but not nearly as much as we did at the beginning of the war. Where we once had about 20 to 30 vehicles going per day, we are now having around 7 or 8 per month, as other organizations have been able to come in to fill that void. We don't need to duplicate that which is already happening. Know the good that you ought to do, and to not do it would be wrong. I don't know if I recognized it growing up, but I have a very deep fire, a burn conviction. I actually don't even know what you want to call it, but for those who are a weaker position, being taken advantage of. And whether it be playing hockey or another sport and having a larger player going after a smaller, weaker one, that would just dial me up. And I think a lot of that is what got me into ministry, that equips churches to fight against the injustices in the world, and in Ukraine, it has exploded in me. So short of me joining the military, I'm able to join chaplains serving the front, those who are doing just that. The price is not something that can be measured to what these men and women have and choose to do in order to defend their loved ones and country. I travel about once a month to these areas. Soldiers who hold the front for about 30, 60, or even 90 days without being rotated, only having food and water provided them by drones, having to hold their positions while glide bombs, artillery, constant threats of kamikaze drones, phosphor bombs, illegal nerve gas. Those who are injured have to walk themselves out before getting to where we are. Soldiers who have not eaten for 9 days, those who are being surrounded with no food or water, having to decide whether to take their own life or be captured. These stories are unimaginable, and these are only a few. I have a lot of young nieces and nephews in Ukraine who can play without the horrors of war looming directly over them. I know as a Christian, I am to look after the widow and orphanly, basically those who are the most vulnerable. I also know that faith without works is dead, which you've been reading in James. It does not work. We do not do the work for what we get, but rather we do the work out of response to what Christ has done for us. Amen to that? And that will look differently to each Christian, as we have been given different gifts and ability to use in our service of our King. What is universal is that we are to serve God and to do good. And in Ukraine, we are fighting an incredible evil that has been inflicted upon a people. We are fighting with all our strength to do good, to be a light in the dark, to be what the church is called to be, and equipping others to do so, regardless of what that outcome is. And when times are the darkest, light shines the brightest. And the opportunity to share the love of Christ is wide open, and it's now, not later. Now is the time when it is the hardest, and it is hard. Going under rocket and drone attacks, moving dead bodies, sitting with those who have lost their son or daughter, holding the hand of the child that will never hold their father's hand again. Sorry, I just don't get to share much in English while I'm there, so saying it strikes me in my heart. For us, it's not a time to hide or run the other way. It is a time to stand fast in amongst the danger and be in the spiritual trenches. We know the good we ought to do because God has written to us in his word about it. We are to love one another as we would love ourselves, and I thank this church, Broadway Church, for being such an instrumental and large part of enabling us to serve God throughout this time of war. And the constant question I always get is, how is Ukraine doing? And it's so hard to describe, but if you want to put up the next slide, this is it's a resemblance of where Ukraine is at. It's a gate that still is closed, it's still defending, but it's battered, bruised, almost destroyed, but it's still holding. So we stand upon those who continue to defend themselves, and I thank you again for this church and what you have done and continue to do in our lives and being such a foundation for us.
I'm going to read these verses again. So I want us to have them be impressed upon our heart. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. Some of us can really live that, know that. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is a sin for them. Amen. And thank you, Chad, for just expressing that with your life and what Hungry for Life is doing there. It's obvious what you need to do, so you just go do it. So here's some opening statements I have for us. James is telling us this. It's concise. In this short time on earth, make sure of a few things. So he's like a life coach here. So I have some life coach statements, things you might want to put on your fridge. You do not know what tomorrow brings. Today matters more than tomorrow. Follow God's will and direction. Don't brag about your business savvy. That's what he's saying. Do good. Very general, very generic. But the questions are important for us from this passage. Who is in charge of my life? Who is in charge of your life? Who supervises you? Who oversees you? Who do you report to? You know, we struggle. Some people just can't report to anybody, so they have to have their own business. I'm not saying if you have your own business that you're not submissive, but I've talked to a few guys. It's like I just got tired of reporting to somebody. I just wanted to report to myself, and that can be an okay thing. It can be a good thing. But we struggle with being supervised. We want to supervise ourselves. That's what James is getting at. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Don't just go around doing your own will, what you think is right in your own eyes to do. You need to do right. So who or what directs our decisions and goals? I love what Chad said, that the decision to go to Ukraine was made years ago. We're surrendering our life to Jesus. There we are. There we go. That's it. And so he's quoting some merchants. Merchants he probably knew about, but he doesn't name them. They're fictional in the sense he doesn't give them names, just with the idea of that city or this city. He's not naming real cities here. But what he does is put words on their lips that bring the expression of an underlying attitude that they know the plans that they've made for themselves. They are trusting in themselves. They are deliberate, the self-confident planners. They decide where they're going to go and how long they're going to stay. The opposite of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which says to not trust in yourself. And they're quite sure about the outcome of all these plans. They're going to make money. That would have been familiar, this picture, to first century people living in Palestine. Jews were especially active in these ventures. Many had left Palestine to the greater Mediterranean area in pursuit of financial gain and having businesses, all good things, and making a profit. So we need to guard against a misinterpretation at this point. It would be terribly tempting to find here a rebuke of those who are out to make a profit at all. It's not wrong to make a profit. If you didn't make a profit, we wouldn't have any businesses. We wouldn't have anywhere to go if that person wasn't making a profit. Couldn't get anything done if people didn't make a profit. So he's not criticizing that. He needs to correct them, though, for their self-confidence as they pursue these goals. And we need to guard against another kind of misinterpretation, that James is forbidding all kinds of planning or concern for the future. Taking out life insurance, saving for a retirement. These are all good things. They're not condemned in this passage. They are actually maybe a good form of wise stewardship. What James is against is any kind of planning for the future that stems from your human arrogance or just living for yourself, making no room for God to determine the course of your life. So what is your life? He says it pretty bluntly. You are just like a mist. You are a mist. You're like a vapor. You're like a smoke in the air. Point is clear. Human life is I'll come up with a different word. Is it insubstantial and transitory? Here 1 minute and gone the next. Illness, disease, accidental death, or the return of Christ cuts short our lives. Just as quickly, James says, as the morning sun dissipates the mist, or a shift in the wind will blow away the smoke. And this is a recurring biblical theme. James isn't saying anything new here. Proverbs 27:1. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Again, remember we've been saying this, James has nothing original to say. He just encapsulates the Psalms and the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and other wisdom literature and puts it into a pithy statement for us, like a good life coach. Do not boast about tomorrow. You don't know what a day may bring. Job 7 describes life as but a breath. It's like a cloud that vanishes and is gone. David says this as his request to God. Show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting my life is. My days are a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Everyone is but a breath, even those who seem secure. And it's okay to get all hung up on our years on earth, but they are nothing compared to eternity, is what David had said. The span of my years is as nothing before an eternal God. He doesn't work in the same time capsule that we do. So we had a special event this week. So I want to call up Nick Van Veen, and we're going to ask him a few questions. So what's the deal? Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Yeah, today, right now. What happened this week?
Well, to worship God right now.
Yeah, good, yeah.
That's why we come to
I'm
church.
looking for a more superficial answer. What happened? What was your birthday this week?
2 days ago, November the 14th, I turned 90. And 90 sounds
How does
lot-
it make?
lot of years.
How does that feel?
It feels very good. And like you just said, 90 years is a long time to world standards, but when we compare it with eternity, it's like a vapor, you were saying.
Yeah. So I got some questions for Nick, and he's going to answer them. Hey, anyone else here near 90 that needs to be up here in the next year? I want to make sure our database is all proper, and it lets us know, when people's birth years are and what the years are. So if you're turning 90 in the next year or two, if you like, you can come on up here. So where were you born, Nick?
Where I was born?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I cannot hear very well, but yeah, I understand. I was born in Meerkerk.
Where?
Which is a village, more or less on the west side of the Netherlands, more or less in the middle of the Netherlands.
So born in the Netherlands. Anyone else here born in the Netherlands? Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. And what do you remember about the place you grew up, like school-wise, or where you went to school, that sort of thing?
We grew up through the war. I was 5 years old when the war broke out. And I was only 5, but I clearly remember that as we saw the bombs dropping out of the sky and hit the bridge, because the Germans were focusing on break the transportation. So they bombed the bridges and the highways. And I remember that clearly, that we could see that off our balcony. The next 5 years were very fearful as a child. From my 5th year to my 10th year, we grew up with fear. The Germans, they robbed us from our innocent childhood years. So those years, I don't know nothing else but fear. I was so scared for the Germans because they were so loud and demanding, and they took over our house. They were sleeping upstairs. We had no say in it. They just took it over. Then, 1944, the hunger winter started. And thousands and thousands of people died that winter of hunger. They took our food from mom and dad. They took it and used it for their own army. So we were left without food, and we suffer hunger. And I myself suffered such a hunger that I could not walk anymore. I tried to walk once to the washroom. I was 9 years old, but I collapsed on the kitchen floor. My legs couldn't carry me anymore, so my mom had to pick me up. And that time, I lay in bed 24/7 because I couldn't walk. And I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, if you help me, keep me alive through this period, then I will serve you for the rest of my life. That was a promise that I made when I was 10 years old. And I kept that promise as much as I could. I'm so thankful for my life, that the Lord has given me.
So yeah, tell us what you've done with that life. I mean, in a few minutes, like...
I was a bricklayer. We came to Canada in '59. So we were just married 5 months, so we had to build up our lives. Started with nothing. And we worked hard. And like I said, I was a bricklayer. It's a heavy trade, but the Lord has given me strength.
So he was a bricklayer, and he still is walking upright.
Yeah.
So good work.
That is a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I realized that. For the last 15 years, we served with YWAM, through YWAM, and we did many, many trips, as you know. Sometimes we serve 4 months out of the year, 2 months in the spring, 2 months in the fall, to serve YWAM all over. We went also on mission trips to the Philippines with Art Lowen 3 times. We did the DTS at the university in Hawaii. And for 3 months they sent us to Thailand to serve the Lord, to bring the gospel to the people and prayed with people. So yeah, that is more or less our lives. We did a lot of mission trips, and we truly enjoyed it, and thank the Lord that He has given us the strength and energy to do that, to serve Him, because that's where our heart is.
Yeah. So what, kind of last question here, what kind of advice do you have for our young people here, our middle-aged people, any age really, because you've served the Lord in many capacities, but what is one spiritual lesson that you've learned that you'd like to pass on?
I recommend, especially the young people, when they finish high school, to serve the Lord through YWAM. To serve the Lord with YWAM and give 6 months to YWAM and give the best of your life to the Lord. That is the best time of your life. And
Can we hear that? Okay.
And it will build a foundation, a spiritual foundation for your life. It is excellent to serve to take the DTS course. It's 6 months. You learn a lot. You learn how to listen to God, hear His voice. Yeah, there's a lot of good things in those 6 months you learn, and it gives you a good foundation.
So there's a start.
So I recommend that to anybody who is able to work like us. Yeah. We were in our 70s when we started.
Yeah.
So it's never too late.
Never too late to go to your first mission trip.
We were 76 and 74 years old when we took the DTS ourselves at the university.
Yeah. So Nick, happy birthday. It's thrilling to have you here. If you wouldn't mind after the service, maybe come sit near the front. People might have questions for you and ask, but this is Nick Van Veen, 90 years old. Thank you very much, Nick. So James starts out with this idea of now listen. Different translations might say, look here, come now. What he's doing when he says, now listen, he's demanding our full attention, James is. It's similar to when Jesus said, whoever has ears, let them hear. If James was writing today, he might say, wake up and smell the coffee. Look at the reality of the situation. You guys are drawing your security from your wealth, and you're proving true the statement of Jesus. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Because a rich person is secure in their wealth. They don't feel the need for God in their daily life. They're committing idolatry by replacing God with their wealth, leading them to make all their own plans without any dependence on God whatsoever. They are trusting in themselves. They're serving money, not God. And Jesus says you cannot serve both. As I've said here before, James's words are filtered from the Psalms and the Proverbs and the words of Jesus. So I've decided to preach a little bit more out of Luke chapter 12. And you can turn to Luke chapter 12 in your Bible. Because what James has given us in his verses is a compressed takeaway. Compressed the action points from this parable of the rich fool. So I want to read it. This is what James is saying. I think James had this parable in mind as he was writing this to his readers in this letter. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Now listen, look here. Wake up and smell the coffee. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." This is what James is getting at. And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is what it will be with those who store up things for themselves, but are not rich toward God." And this is what James encapsulates, this exact parable. So I want to go through it. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. It's a story about a man who failed to recognize that he was accountable to God for all that he owned, just like these merchants that James talks about. They're my barns. It's my grain. It's my stuff. It's my good. And so his game plan was to expand his storage facilities in order to preserve all the surplus for himself. I'm keeping it all. I'm hoarding it all. It's a parable to tell the folly of laying treasures on earth for yourself. This rich fool does not see the abundance as an opportunity to actually help others, which is what James has been getting at throughout his entire book. We are here to help others. Even the demons believe and shudder. But Christians who believe should do works, should do good. He hoards all his abundance. He relaxes, thinking his troubles are all over. I've got my plan. It's in place. And at the end, we can say all the fool has to show God is a great big barn full of rotting grain, or grain that will be eaten by others. He will not enjoy it. Again, more Psalms come into the picture here that Jesus is drawing from. Psalm 49, do not be overawed when a man grows rich, when the splendor of his house increases. He will take nothing with him when he dies. His splendor will not descend with him, though while he lived he counted himself blessed, and men praised him for all his prosperity. He will join the generations of his fathers who will never see the light. of life. A man who has riches without understanding is like the beasts that perish. That's what we got to a few weeks ago about having the kind of wisdom and understanding what to do with the riches that you have. Job 31. If I had put my trust in gold or said to pure gold, you are my security, if I had rejoiced over my great wealth, the fortune my hand has gained, if I had regarded the sun in its radiance or the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed and my hand offered them a kiss of homage, then also would be sins to be judged, for I would have been unfaithful to God on high. So this man is someone that many of us might even envy. Part of the 1% of the leisurely upscale class that just can spend money on themselves. The kind of man that has it better than the rest. The kind of man we perhaps would like to trade places with. But Jesus says, be careful about the greed. And you don't have to be wealthy to be greedy. You can be greedy no matter what your income level is, or have no income. So what am I going to do with the surplus? That's what James is getting at. You make a profit. What are you doing with this profit? You know, possessions are bonded to a deep, often irrational fear. The fear of one day not having enough. And this gnawing fear presses us to acquire more. There's never quite enough because the insecurity within us will never die. Surplus, what to do with it? So he is just going to keep it all. He could have sold it all, made more cash for the year, could have flooded the market. He knew better than to do that, so he's keeping it. He's going to sell it gradually over the years. He can eat, drink, and be merry. What's he going to do with the surplus? So here he goes, number 3. He goes to his life coach or his financial coach. He goes somewhere to get wisdom. Who does he go to? Himself. Again, the exact opposite of what we read in Proverbs. He thought to himself. It's a significant statement. This is what James is getting at. Don't go through life with as you please. No, you need to have Jesus as your guide, your direction. Make room for him for where you're to go and what you're to do. So then, number 4 here, he puts his strategy or his scheme into place because James called it being arrogant in your scheme. So here, on how they were going to make more money and make more money. So he says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build bigger and better barns. More barns, bigger barns, all for me and my future. This is selfish ambition at work, as we read in James. You want to know what selfish ambition is? Here it is in this parable. And this is wisdom of the earth, James called this. Demonic even, not wisdom from above. So then here's his number 5, the benefits of his strategy. Good, I've got plenty of grain for my future. No more farming at a sooner date. I can maybe just relax a bit more, farm less, I got all this surplus. He imagines that a person created in the image of God can be fully satisfied with this kind of stuff for the soul. And he has a radical misunderstanding of the soul. He makes a critical misjudgment of what is needed to sustain the soul. He believed that having an overabundance of food and drink was a way to satisfy the soul. So number 6, God announces his opinion on the matter. His life is going to be demanded. His soul, your life is a mist, is what he's getting at. This is a very interesting word for fool here. It's aphron. And it's related to the diagram. The diaphragm, sorry. It's that point, it's the point where you reach, you're secure and content, and you have the big sigh of relief in the diaphragm, expanding your diaphragm. I've arrived. Jesus says that's a fool. That's like that. Eat, drink, and expand the diaphragm. Be merry and rejoice. You get this idea of euphoria from this word, euphreno. I've got ultimate euphoria in all the stuff I have. I can go here, I can holiday there, I can spend money on this, blah, blah, blah. All these things I can do. Oh, I have the carefree life. James is saying the Christian should never have a carefree life. It would be sin to have the carefree life. That's how the demons live. They don't care about people. You don't care about people? James is saying, I question if you have the heart of God. Because God continually cares. And his people have to be caring people, not carefree. But this is what the fool is. I'm carefree. I got it made. And God says, no. Your life is demanded. Your life is demanded. So Jesus gives the solution to the problem here. He says you need to store things up toward God. Quit storing things up to yourself, but be rich toward God. Have a disposition where you look at the needs of others. Do good, as Chad said, in quoting James 4:17. Our wealth opens up choices for us to allow us to pursue our own interests in a variety of ways. And that can easily entangle us. Jesus said life's worries, riches, and pleasures can choke out the word of God that's planted in our hearts. And Jesus says, so you need to give surplus away. You need to store up something towards God and the kingdom, not keep storing up stuff for yourself. And here's some verses that James is working from and Jesus is working from. Malachi 3:10. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse so that there will be food in my house. And see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that you will not have room for it. Just trust me. Don't be afraid to be generous. Don't be afraid to give. Don't build more barns. Give away what you got. Don't keep opening up more accounts. Why don't you give away some of your money? 1 Timothy 6:17, command those who are rich in the present world, in this misty world that we live in, this vapor world, to not be arrogant nor to put their hope in the wealth. Again, that's from the parable. It's so uncertain. Put your hope in God who provides everything for our enjoyment. Command those who are rich to do good. That's what James does, the same thing. Be rich in good deeds. Be generous and willing to share. In this way, you will lay up treasures for yourselves as a firm foundation for the next life, for the coming age. Use your surplus for good purposes. Use the profit you're going to make. Your plan should be, we're going to go from this city to this city, and we're going to make X amount of dollars. We're going to pay our employees well. We're going to look after them with some benefits. We're going to give them a living wage, and I'm going to make some money at the same time. I don't need to make 18 times more than my workers, or 500,000 times more than my workers, which is the way it is with some companies in our world. Be rich toward God, Jesus said. Do not imitate the fool. He did life apart from the will of God. And Jesus had said in previous places, not so with you. Be a server. I came to serve, not to be served. So you businessmen, you Christian, you have an idea about what your life should be like. Go ahead, make some money, but don't forget, you're here to serve others. You're here to look after, as it said in James, the widow and the orphan, the disenfranchised. Matthew 25 talks about looking after people and giving them water and clothing and shelter, visiting them in prison. That's how you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do with your extra time and your money, is you help people. You love your neighbors yourself. There's nothing wrong with a profit motive. You better have one. You better have a business plan that you actually make a profit if you're a business person. But know that God is in charge. Glorify him in your business, James is saying. Be praying, your will be done in my business, in my life. May it be done on earth as it is in heaven. Another way to look at it is what Peter says in 1 Peter 3. In your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Because James said, if it is the Lord's will, so it matters that Jesus is Lord. Be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks to give the reason for the hope that you have. Christian, business person, merchant in this case, if you're a follower of Jesus, your life should look different. People might even ask questions about how you spend your money. What? I can't believe it, how generous you are. And when they ask for reasons for how you live, for the hope that you have, do it with gentleness and respect, even when they slander you. It is better to suffer for doing good than for doing evil. Christ also suffered once for sin, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring us to God. If it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. Okay, Gary, you need to give us a whole series now on how to know God's will. It's not a mystery. It's not that complicated. James has given about 20 things so far. That's God's will. It's written on almost every page of the Bible. This is God's will. This is God's will. And James is saying you can't be carefree. Don't go around life just saying, okay, this is what I want to do. So I'm just going to care about myself. He says, no, you don't even know what happened. What is your life? Your life's a mist. So the life that you have now in the great span of eternity is nothing. It's gone. So do something. It was neat that as a 10-year-old, Nick kind of came to grips with this. Out of war. He saw people dying every day. What am I going to do with my life? So care about people. That's what James is getting at. Do good. You believe, awesome. Show it. Quit bragging about how great you are at the art of the deal, and you need to humble yourself before the Lord, and then he will lift you up. That's what we read last week. Care about the poor and the widow and the orphan and the displaced and the refugee. Don't show favoritism. Don't slander. Do not judge. This is all the Lord's will. It's written right there. We don't have to ask for some mystery revelation from God. Love your neighbor. You've been given a different kind of life. You've been given new birth through the word of truth. You've been given mercy, not condemnation. So go and be generous. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. He knows you. He wants to give you hope. James is saying he's got a better life for you than just living it on your own, figuring things out on your own. Your life is like a mist, so make sure that little mist life counts. Makes a difference, and it will. So I go back to the life coach statements. It's true, you don't know what tomorrow brings. So today, make a decision. Make that decision about what your life's going to be about. Follow God's will and direction. Don't brag. Do good. And as we sing these last songs, let's contemplate this question. Who's in charge of my life? Is Jesus Lord? Who or what directs my decisions and my goals? This is what James is getting at. This is what James is getting at. Don't store up for yourself here on earth, but be generous and be rich toward God. Amen. Let's not be like that rich fool who, full of fear, decided to just continue to live for himself. So as you think about who guides your life, who directs your life, where you get your wisdom from, I want to give us these verses that James gives us in chapter 3, verse 17. This is what the child of God does. This is the will of God. This is what to go after. The wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. It's peace-loving. It's considerate. It's submissive. It's full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. This is a life. This is the will of God for us. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Amen.